Law number 41. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. What happens first always appears better and more original than what comes after. If you succeed a great man or have a famous parent, you will have to accomplish double their achievements to outshine them. Do not get lost in their shadow or stuck in a past not of your own making. Establish your own name and identity by changing course. Slay the overbearing father, disparage his legacy, and gain power by shining in your own way. Power depends on appearing larger than other people, and when you are lost in the shadow of the father, the king, the great predecessor, you cannot possibly project such a presence. But how does the son step out of the father's shadow? For one, he could adopt the ruthless strategy of Alexander the Great, disparage the past, create your own kingdom, and put the father in the shadows instead of letting him do the same to you.
I pray to Apollo you soon realize how far you've turned from your father's path, yelled Parmenion in a bitter tone.
Damn you, Parmenion, by the gods and your Apollo. War was in my father's guts. It wasn't overripe in reason like yours, yelled Alexander in wrath.
He never lusted for war, Alexander, or enjoyed it so. He consulted his peers in council among equals, the Macedonian way. He didn't make decisions based on his personal desires.
I've taken us further than my father ever dreamed. Old man, we're in a new world.
If you cannot materially start from ground zero, it would be foolish to renounce an inheritance. You can at least begin from ground zero psychologically. 2. Throw off the weight of the past and chart a new direction. 3. Recognize, like Alexander instinctively, that privileges of birth are impediments to power. 4. Be merciless with the past, not only with your father and his father, but with your own earlier achievements. 5. Only the weak rest on their laurels and dote on past triumphs. In the game of power, there is never time to rest. Louis XIV died in 1715 after a glorious 55-year reign. All eyes focused on his great-grandson and chosen successor, the future Louis XV. From a country that had descended into civil war in the late 1640s, Louis XIV forged the mightiest realm in Europe. Great generals would tremble in his presence. A cook once made a mistake in preparing a dish and committed suicide rather than face the king's wrath. Louis had many mistresses, but their power ended in the bedroom. He filled his court with the most brilliant minds of the age. The symbol of his power was Versailles. Refusing to accept the palace of his forefathers, the Louvre, he built his own palace in what was then the middle of nowhere, symbolizing that this was a new order he had founded, one without precedent. He made Versailles the centerpiece of his reign, a place that all the powerful of Europe envied and visited with a sense of awe. In essence, Louis took a great void, the decaying monarchy of France, and filled it with his own symbols and radiant power. Louis XV, on the other hand, symbolizes the fate of all those who inherit something large or who follow in a great man's footsteps. It would seem easy for a son or successor to build on the grand foundation left for them, but in the realm of power, the opposite is true. The pampered, indulged son almost always squanders the inheritance, for he does not start with the father's need to fill the void. As Machiavelli states, necessity is what impels men to take action, and once the necessity is gone, only rot and decay are left. But when they began to make sovereignty hereditary, the children quickly degenerated from their fathers. And so far from trying to equal their father's virtues, they considered that a prince had nothing else to do than to excel all the rest in idleness, indulgence, and every other variety of pleasure. Niccolo Bernardo Machiavelli. Here's 5 reasons to bury the past. 1. The past prevents the young hero from creating his own world. 2. He must do as his father did, even after that father is dead or powerless. 3. The hero must bow and scrape before his predecessor and yield to tradition and precedent. 4. What had success in the past must be carried over to the present, even though circumstances have greatly changed. 5. The past also weighs the hero down with an inheritance that he is terrified of losing, making him timid and cautious. The question then arises, how does one bury the past? Power depends on the ability to fill a void, to occupy a field that has been cleared of the dead weight of the past. 1. Only after the father figure has been properly done away with will you have the necessary space to create and establish a new order. 2. Variations on the execution of the king that disguise the violence of the impulse by channeling it in socially acceptable forms. 3. Perhaps the simplest way to escape the shadow of the past is simply to belittle it, playing on the timeless antagonism between the generations, stirring up the young against the old. 4. Establish distance from your predecessor, which demands some symbolism, a way of advertising itself publicly. As Louis had changed the king's palace from the Louvre to Versailles. Essentially, the problem is the following one. The overbearing predecessor fills the vistas before you with symbols of the past. 2. You have no room to create your own name. And 3. The superstitious belief that if the person before you succeeded by doing A, B, and C, you can recreate their success by doing the same thing. You must go with the times, adapt, and overcome. This is part of the solution. 1. Hunt out the vacuums, those areas in culture that have been left vacant. 2. With this, you can become the first and principal figure to shine. 3. Make a name for yourself where no shadows could obscure your presence. But remember, you are your own father. Do not let yourself spend years creating yourself only to let your guard down and allow the ghost of the past, father, habit, history to sneak back in. As always, tread lightly. The past often has elements worth appropriating, qualities that would be foolish to reject out of a need to distinguish yourself. Even Alexander the Great recognized this important fact because he was influenced by his father's skill in organizing an army. Making a display of doing things differently from your predecessor can make you seem childish and, in fact, out of control, unless your actions have logic of their own. Finally, it is often wise to keep an eye on the young, your future rivals in power. Just as you try to rid yourself of your father, they will soon play the same trick on you, denigrating everything you have accomplished. Just as you rise by rebelling against the past, keep an eye on those rising from below, and never give them the chance to do the same to you.